Just in case there's anyone watching. Just in case there's anyone watching.
And there's sound. Is it muted? or not?
Start video.
Yes.
Are you guys there?
We're here.
Dan, how many more jobs you gonna quit?
Congratulations, by the way, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you. It was bittersweet, as they say. I didn't leave because I didn't like it. I enjoyed it
How do we make this bigger?
quite a bit, a lot. Enjoyed it a lot. I just felt that it was time to move away from that. So thank you.
Well, you had a few years.
What's that?
You had a few years.
Yeah,
What was it, 25?
25 or 27. I was the chairman for 22 or 23, and I was on the board for 3 or 4 before that.
I think we got to send him to a psychiatrist. Being chair for that long.
I was on
Hey,
2 terms and I was.
That's what a lot of people say.
2 terms was enough and I went to the town board, which is a lot easier. You know what I used to fight over, Dan? We had one guy on our board, Queensburg board, and every time somebody came up, the first thing he would ask was, how do you know you'll make any money? And I used to go nuts. And I said, should give a goddamn how much
Exactly. Exactly. I'm the same way. We had a lot of people come in, restaurants, this and that. People, there's an awful lot of restaurants. I say, hey, that's his business or her business. I wish them all the luck in the world.
All we care about is you follow the rules.
Exactly. We have no business saying whether, you don't want to take this chance, or, there's too many of this or too many of that.
Yeah, you got too many restaurants. That's
Yeah.
not business.
Good luck is all I have to say. And I mean it sincerely.
Yeah, that's our job.
Yeah.
One time I said, what are you gonna do? You're gonna loan him money?
You're right. There you go.
Sometimes I think he was gonna loan the money. He wanted to make money himself.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was good work.
But it was actually fun for me, enjoyable. I like all the different projects, applications and all of that.
Yeah.
Getting involved
Yeah.
with people. I like helping people. I and the board always said that, unlike some municipalities I've had to deal with in my professional life, where they're somewhat adversarial,
Yeah.
we're here to help people.
Yeah.
We want people to succeed.
And
benefits us.
follow the laws.
Exactly.
I think
As
the
long as
best
you're in
way,
compliance with chapter 220, which is zoning in Glen's
yeah. I think the best way, I went to town board next before the county board, but I think the best way to get to those jobs is through the planning board. You learn so much through the planning board.
Oh, I agree 100%.
But you got people that, you were there a long time.
Yeah, I do know.
I'll bet there wasn't a time in those years that somebody didn't like what you did.
Oh, more than one, I'm sure.
I know. Yeah.
More than one. I sincerely just always hope that I did the best I could And the
Yeah,
board did.
Google.
Yeah.
It's a group effort, best we could for the citizens of Glens Falls, for the city of
Yeah.
Glens Falls. And I mean that.
yeah, I know.
I know.
I know you
parent-
believe it. I felt the same way.
10 shoes, look at the same pair of shoes in each store. And then go back to the cheapest one. There might be $5 for the difference, but he spends $20 for the gas.
Yeah.
Who's that peeking in there? Oh, that's Ally. There she is.
Hi, Ally.
Hi.
I got my wife to, Ally, I got my wife to change into my name now. Under the new laws, I figured they didn't want to, we shouldn't have Barbara's name up there.
Oh, that, I didn't
Look at that.
think of that.
How about that?
We're thinking it was an improvement.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's
It is.
a compliment to her.
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
Not negative to you.
It would be an improvement if she was on. Oh, dear. Hey, Dan, how come the mayor's he's hiring 50 people a week to help him?
They lost that.
You tell me.
Can you afford that? By the way, I drove by today. I drove over to South Glens Falls and the roof is done on the Civic Center.
One would hope.
No, it's done. Well, they're not there anymore.
I put a new roof on a portion of my house yesterday.
Yeah,
It was hot up there.
yeah. You did it?
Yeah,
That's a lot of work.
yeah. Well, but one step at a time.
Hopefully.
Fred, do you just climb up there or do you have like safety features that secure yourself in place when you're up there?
Yeah, I don't have safety features.
Well,
Yeah,
you wouldn't catch me up there. Well, you wouldn't catch me up there, period. But if I had to go up, I'd have some safety
Yeah.
features, including parachutes.
it was, yeah.
You know, they had, while they were working on it, twice they had to stop because the new roof in certain spots was leaking again. And they had to go back to that spot and redo
Wow.
the spots. I didn't care because the city was paying for it.
And you're a Queensbury resident.
No, it's just that, as you know, Dan, the city owns the building.
Yeah. Warren County contributes handsomely to it.
Yep.
Not to owning the building. Hey, are you okay now, Chuck?
Yeah, good afternoon. We're good. The girls get it. It was a great run. You know,
Yes.
they
Yes,
hit a team that just had a lot of talent, but it was a fun ride.
it was. That was a great year.
Yeah, it was a great year, and they have a lot of returning players. So maybe we'll do it again next year.
Well, it'd be impressive to see what that 8th grader does as she moves up and matures.
Yeah.
She really is. The whole family. Her sister is Bridget, who's the senior going to West Point, and she's been a star. And then she's got another sister, Bailey, who is also a sophomore with my daughter. And then there's the 8th grader. So this Duffy family, I don't know if you know him. He's a podiatrist here in town. He retired from the Army. He works for Hudson Headwaters. They
Yeah.
have 10 kids, and they're just
Holy mackerel.
amazing people. And anyway, so yeah, it's a good ride, and I think we'll have a couple more Duffy stars.
Well,
Well, it was a good year. I mean, I know they were disappointed, but you can't be disappointed. When you go think about it, you'd had a great year.
how can you be disappointed when you go that far?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
It's my personal feeling. I mean, what they accomplished, there was how many other teams that didn't get that far?
Amen.
the whole state, all the B schools in the whole state. Yeah, good stuff.
I won a lot of money on you until the last game.
Stop. Hey, Dan, congratulations on your many years of service at the planning board and the kind comments from Bill Collins.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it sincerely.
Yeah.
It was good. I was just telling Nick and the rest of them. I really enjoyed it, and I still do, but I just decided it was time to get out, move along, you know.
You couldn't afford to lose any more hair.
Yeah, really. It wasn't an
It's a-
issue anymore.
You know, it's a lot of work. I don't know if people understand the amount of work that goes into the board
Oh,
like that and
man.
all the applications.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
It's-
Amazing.
Chuck, I was telling Dan, and he agreed with me. I was on the planning board in Queensbury for 2 terms before I went to the town. But the thing that used to burn me up was that we had one guy especially, you'd come in and you'd have a plan to do this and do that, the other thing. And the first question you ask is, well, how do you know you'll make any money? And I used to go nuts. I said, what? That's not our job. That's not our job. Our job is to watch the laws.
Well, you know, Dan, you picked a good time to do it because being part of administration, he can spread his wings and open up and do some fresher things. And just as if separate eyes, it helps, and nothing against what you did, because you certainly served way beyond your service years. And, it just
Right.
helps him spread his wings, get his own people in place, because you may last another year, 2 years at the most,
Yeah.
and then decide that it's enough, but this is the right time to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know the mayor, and not even if I didn't, we were down one member that was, and I just figured, as far as the chairmanship goes, I didn't want to leave him right at the start of a new term. He's fresh, as they say. So I told him I would stay there, and I met with him a number of times over the past few months. I told him I wouldn't leave right away, but he knew I was going to. But then the situation kind of became that if I don't pull the plug or the trigger or whatever it was, I don't know if he ever would. Great guy and all, but it just seemed like it was going to go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'd like to call this public hearing to order. I would ask Ally to read the public notice, please.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency on the 13th day of June, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. local time via Zoom at the meeting information below, in accordance with legislation S 7623A/A.8591, amending chapter 417 of the laws of 2021 in connection with the adoption of a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing the Use of Videoconferencing in Extraordinary Circumstances by the Fulton County Industrial Development Agency, authorized by and pursuant to Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022, amending certain sections of the New York State Open Meetings Law. All persons wishing to be heard on said resolution may appear at said hearing via Zoom and be heard thereon. A copy of said proposed resolution is on file in the office of the agency at 5 Warren Street, Glens Falls, New York, 12801, and available at www.warren-washingtonida.com. Notice is hereby given that a special meeting will be held by the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency on the 13th day of June, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. local time via Zoom at Zoom information above, to consider the adoption of the above referenced resolution and to address any other matters coming before the agency at that time.
Thank you, Ally. So we're here to talk about a public hearing on video conferencing, how the agency proceeds with that. You've had a copy of the resolution to look at and evaluate. Do we have anyone watching on YouTube or?
There's two, one's me, so someone must be.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of that, I'll open up for any comments from the public on the proposed video conferencing for the IDA. We'll ask for any comments from the public on the proposed video conferencing policy from the public. So I'm going to get to a quarter of to have our other meeting. So I'm just going to use this time to talk about the video conferencing policy a little bit. I think that what the state is trying to do is to encourage people to get back into meeting in person, but allowing some flexibility for people who have extraordinary circumstances. It also allows so that all the people don't have to be in one public location. But if we have potentially two public locations, as long as advertised ahead of time in our notice of hearing, is that we could have two locations as long as and have a quorum based on those two public locations. Extraordinary circumstances believe comes into where if someone for some reason can't make a meeting, is that as long as they notify the chair or the administrator of such extraordinary circumstances that they can also attend, but they cannot be counted if they're not in a public place and it has been noticed. They can't count as a member, as a quorum. However, they can ask questions, they can vote. So that's the biggest change in the law. In terms of previous to that, if you weren't in a public place and it wasn't noticed, you couldn't be member of the quorum, or nor could you vote. So I think that's the biggest change that allowed. The other biggest change that people may find there is, and Kara can correct me if I'm wrong, but is that if you're on a Zoom call, you can't be cloaked. You must be present. You must show your face to be able to vote or participate or count as a member of quorum. Did I have that right, Kara?
Yes.
So that's one of the things. The governor's mandate is expiring on the 15th. We haven't heard whether or not they're going to extend it or not. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I think that we should adopt our own policy and follow our own policy. It just makes more sense. At some point, it's going to change, but let's do it right and get back to it, because members also have expressed some interest, or more than just some interest, in meeting in person more, while allowing the hybrid resolution. So I'll just open up for questions. We'll save some time later at the regular meeting.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I guess with the new rule, we will have to determine the quorum cutoff, where obviously if we get into a situation where several people have, for example, travel obligations, then if we need to know that threshold for where a quorum will be obtained and where it will not. And then if we learn that a lot of people are traveling at the same time, then obviously we would have a situation not having a quorum necessary to conduct a meeting. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement. However, our quorum is 6 people.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how many members we have, a quorum is 6 people.
Okay, good to know.
Unless the board decides for some reason to change the size of the board, but I don't see that happening. I think 5 and 5 looks and works well.
Okay, thank you.
We find that the fewer people you have as membership, the harder it is to get a quorum.
Yep.
So again, yes, if people can anticipate their travel, then we could figure out a way to get them included in the quorum. But public place, Kara, what's the definition of a public place? Sitting in the middle of the street?
No, it can be any place as long as you've noticed it as your location. So if you are comfortable with having wherever you are published in the notice as the public location where the public can come and attend, then that qualifies. It can be, I mean, technically it could be somebody's home if you're willing to allow people from the public to come attend the meeting at your house. And then that location needs to be set out in the notice, which is why it makes it a little difficult for planning purposes if, you know, you can't always, I mean, if you're going to be last minute, I need to zoom in, the notice has already gone out.
So let's say the notice has gone out 5 days ahead of time,
Mhm.
and someone calls in and says, whoop, this came up 3 days, 4 days, next day. How long do we have to amend the notice?
Well, I mean, if it's a regularly scheduled meeting, your notice requirements are going out, like, I think it has to be 3 days or 2 days in advance to, there's not an actual time frame. It's reasonable notice to the press. But so if somebody determines last minute that they can attend only virtually under an extraordinary circumstance, then as long as there's an in-person quorum, then they can still participate in the meeting and vote.
So we usually send our notices out, what, Ellie, how many?
7 days.
7 days ahead of time? So say we send it out on Monday for a Monday meeting, and Wednesday someone comes up, whoops, I have a problem. You know, this came up, I've got to travel, I can publish a public place if you want. Could we amend that notice?
You can amend the notice, but honestly, I would recommend trying to avoid doing that. So in case that ever a question is raised about any action taken at a meeting and whether or not all the notices, you know, were properly posted and things like that. I mean, I think it's a possibility to do if you have enough notice, but I wouldn't necessarily make that a habit.
Like,
This only really comes into play if you need them to be there as a quorum. You can, if
Right.
correct that you can be in a private place and still vote, but you cannot be part of the quorum. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Nicholas.
I think the day number should be written in stone. And the reason,
Well, that's public officers law. That's not,
I know, but here's our problem. We're always subject to somebody not liking what we have done. And if somebody steps out and that causes a change in the voting, or change anywhere, because somebody could decide, wow, you're doing that because you want this to fail, or you want this to pass, or whatever. So much, the more we can write into stone, day-wise, the better it is, I think.
Good point.
So Kara, is the alternative to have to cancel the meeting?
there's no
Or
quorum.
postpone it?
If there's no quorum, yeah, you would have to cancel the meeting.
So like using the example like today, if I were a board member, this morning we got a call from the school saying your kids don't have a bus ride home and I had to pick them up. So I was planning on being in the office, but ended up having to do this from home. If we only had 6 board members, you'd end up having to cancel the meeting or postpone it.
Well, if you had 6 in person, you'd have a quorum.
Okay.
If you don't have 6 at any, you either need 6 in person or 6 participating virtually from a public location.
Okay.
Well, I
Understand.
think we need to be big boys and girls. I mean, last meeting, through no fault of his own, at the last minute, because of something that was of no fault of his own, Chuck had to go to a lacrosse game for his daughter. So he did what he had to do. He brought it. God bless. He brought his stuff with him, and he attended the meeting in that car going 90 miles an hour. But the point is, he made an effort to clearly be there, and didn't use that as an excuse not to be there. Just gotta be big boys and girls, I guess. I happen to be 5'7", but that's okay.
Just today, there's 6 of us, right? So we have a quorum, but if one
Yes.
person, so that's the risk we run if something comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. Boop, 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 boop.
Okay.
Sounds
Well,
like for practical purposes, we all have to plan on being in the meeting because we're going to run into some quorum issues is what it comes down to. And, watching from a car while, Nick, you make a very good point about, Chuck being there for the meeting. Doing that, he's not part of the quorum at that point. It looks like the numbers are pretty tight. So if we're going to go back to in-person meetings, we all have to pretty much plan on being in there is my takeaway here.
well,
I agree.
according to the new law, it requires 6 people to be in a quorum in public places live and be noticed. To be noticed is the thing that trips us up a little bit. So, but again, it's more flexible than we had prior to this.
And back to my example, I hate to dwell on my example, but when the meeting was announced, I knew the meeting date was bad. And I said, I cannot be there, but I can do it via vehicle. So at least I was there to vote. But to Jenny's point, technically not a quorum. So, but I think the earlier we notice for meetings, so people with their busy calendars can indicate whether or not they can be there, the better.
That's a good point.
Well, no matter what date you pick, it's always wrong for someone.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Is
All right.
it steadfast rule as far as the quorum, size of the quorum?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if we have 8 members, the quorum's still 6.
Got it.
Now, Kara, can we amend our bylaws for that?
No, you would have to go to the state legislature and amend the statute that created you.
Thanks for the good news. So maybe when I have my 15th great grandchild, it'll be passed by the legislature. Okay,
Don't bet on it.
Public hearing.
Don't bet on it.
Public hearing. Well, public hearing. I'll ask again. Are there any comments for the public on the video conferencing as proposed? I'll ask a second time. Are there any questions on the video conferencing for the public hearing? Ellie, nothing online?
No.
Thank you. And I ask for third and final time, are there any comments or questions for the public hearing on video conferencing? Having heard none, I close this public hearing at 4:45. Okay, I now call the special meeting to order. Ally, could you please do the
Craig
attendance?
Leggett,
Here.
Jenny Sullivan,
Here.
Chuck Barton,
Here.
Dan Bruno,
Here.
Nick Caimano,
Here.
Dave O'Brien.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We have 6 out of 10.
Okay. Have a quorum, and I would entertain a resolution for the video conferencing.
Moved.
Moved by Dan, second by Nick. Any further comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item of business is aviation and hospitality refinance. Kara we sent out a resolution concerning that. Kara can explain that if you would, please.
So they are refinancing their existing mortgage that they originally entered into for purposes of undertaking the project. And so they're refinancing this now. I'm just trying to pull up the amount. And they're consolidating with some new money. So the original amount of the mortgage, their project was commenced in August of 2017, and they had a loan amount of $9.3 million with Berkshire Bank. They're refinancing that existing debt, which is in the principal amount now of $8,972,867.16. And they'll be getting new money in the amount of $1,187,132.83. So the consolidated mortgage will be for $10,160,000. This is for the hotel at 524 Aviation Road in the town of Queensbury. And they're seeking a mortgage tax exemption on the new money. So that exemption is $14,839. It's my understanding they're not in default on anything with respect to the IDA. They've paid their pilot payments. There's no outstanding issues. They are scheduled to close tomorrow.
Okay. Any questions for Kara?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Greg.
Thank you. I was looking for you up on the screen.
I'm right there.
Next to that other guy. On consolidating this loan here, I can see giving that mortgage tax when you're first starting out onto the business to get over the hump, to get things started and get the ball rolling. Now they have been in business for 5 years and they're reconsolidating. Why is it in the interest of the IDA and Warren, Washington counties to give a mortgage tax abatement to them at this point in time?
Well, that's a determination for the board to make if you determine that it's in the best interest to offer the exemption. The current UTEP revisions includes this an exemption on refinances. In the past, when projects have refinanced their construction loan, you've offered the exemption at that time again as well. But it's really your call.
And is the new mortgage because they have expanded or increased capacity in any ways?
The reason for their refinance?
Yes.
Hang on, let me pull up exactly what she sent me so I can read it to you. She sent this. She sent me. I asked her for, oh, wait, I'm looking in the wrong spot. They are refinancing to capture a better interest rate and pull some equity out of the project. The current note has a floating rate of 1.25% plus prime, which at the moment is 4.5% for, while it is a floating rate and may go down, it has been trending up recently. The new note contemplates a fixed rate for the first 5 years of 4.77, and that it converts to a floating rate. So basically they're looking to, change their rate and go for a better interest rate on the debt. What they intend to do with the new money, I'm not sure. That's all they provided me.
But going back to what Craig said, is it our job to help them make money like that? I don't know. By giving them the mortgage.
We're not giving them the mortgage.
The UTEP. They giving them the what do you call it? The mortgage
Exemption.
Exemption, yeah.
According to Karen, it's been our past practice.
You haven't done it for all projects, but you have done it for some, particularly in the construction. The reason why I brought it up with you about if you wanted to extend it is because the UTEP as revised indicates that refinances will be eligible for mortgage tax refinance.
But it says here in the resolution that the new money's the amount of rounding $1.2 million. And Kara, as you said, we don't know exactly what that is for. It's an interesting issue to maybe, well, there's a time ticking on this. Apparently they need it by tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
They
Dan?
have a good history with respect to the current mortgage. They must, I would guess.
I don't know, but I assume since they're willing to refinance it. And
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't, we
Because
could
they're-
ask.
Obviously, they're increasing their debt from what it was originally, because they say accordingly, they're taking some equity from their business or whatever. But,
So are they paying the mortgage tax on the increase or the total debt?
The total debt isn't subject to mortgage tax because it was exempt the first time around. The 9.3 was exempt. So that is already exempt for the county doesn't like double dip on the mortgage tax. So if you refinanced your house, you wouldn't pay mortgage tax again on the old money with the consolidation structure of it. So the new money, the 1.1 million is what, because it hasn't been through the mortgage tax process yet, that is either requires a payment of mortgage tax or it requires an exemption, one or the other.
So we're talking about $12,500 approximately.
14.
14.
14,839. I don't see a compelling reason to approve.
The money isn't the issue, Dave. It's the process. That's, doesn't matter what the number is. It's should we do it?
Well, and I think Craig brings up a very valid point. If it doesn't meet the spirit of the agency through economic development, not knowing what the new money is really being utilized for, why should they be exempt from paying mortgage tax? When they're pulling out equity, we don't know what that's for. If they were expanding and it was gonna bring more, economic, prosperity to the hotel or to the region, that would be one thing, but we really don't know what that is.
So the tenet of the board is that we will graciously not pass this and give the reason that they're pulling out for equity. And, if they're pulling out equity, that's not investment in the organization.
Yeah, it could be stated, not so much that they're pulling out equity, but they're not reinvesting the extra mortgaged amount back into the business that was originally mortgaged to bring in that economic opportunity.
Okay. All right, so
Seems as though they could be, but we don't really know. So if you need an answer today, then the answer today is.
It's too bad there's not a representative from the group part of this meeting because we could ask the question.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
true.
sent her an email, but I don't know if she'll get back to me.
Can you get an answer right now?
Oh wait, she just emailed me back.
Maybe she can join the meeting.
She said to pull equity out of the project. We understand. I said, for what purpose?
Why don't we table for further information? Don't
Well, their
tell-
closing is tomorrow. So
She's still got time.
she has no time.
If she can call, get a hold of her.
If she could join the meeting, maybe she could answer our questions.
Right. I don't want to turn it down. That's why I'm saying let's table it. If we think we can get the information, just table it until we get further information.
Well, so their closing is scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you table this for another meeting, I mean, I guess I could see if they want to not record the documents until a week from now.
Can they reschedule their closing?
I'm assuming that is probably
Not for 12 grand.
a bigger problem for them. They only reached out to us. It was just by chance that we happened to have this meeting scheduled when they reached out. She's gonna check with the, she's not sure. She's gonna check with the company.
I don't mean to be a pain in the neck, but why did they wait? This seems like they're at the last minute, the last 20 seconds.
It's a great question, Dan. We're always the last to know. And I'm not even saying that to be funny. Like, we really are. So I think what happened is they got the title report and then they saw that the IDA has a leasehold interest. And then they're like, oh, shoot, we need to reach out to you guys. And it happens so often.
Yeah, more often than not.
Well, maybe by not doing it, it'll alert people.
No, still wait till the last minute.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to the next subject. If she gets back to us, by the time we finish the next subject, then we can address that. Okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
The last item that we have until we have here is canal side land maintenance. We had some questions come up from the last meeting. So Michael, would you fill us in on the answers you got for us?
Yes, when last the board discussed this, there were some outstanding questions and the board's decision was to table it till we could get answers. The first question was about pesticide license. If either company had their permits or their license, I should say, to spray herbicide and pesticide. Spoke to both bidders. Grasshopper Gardens is fully insured and fully licensed to apply herbicide and pesticide at the canal side. I spoke to Everett. He does not have his herbicide or pesticide license. However, he told me what, and Dave and Allie, last week, I believe 2 weeks ago, should he be awarded the bid, he plans on getting the license online and taking a class through DEC. He said it was no more than a 2-week process. As far as time frame, Grasshopper Garden said from date of notification that they've received the bid, they could be on site in about 4 weeks, given their current work schedule. They'd be on site for about a week straight. They plan on shredding as much of the refuse as they can. The rest they will take off site, no additional charge. Everett was, there was an additional removal fee of any of the large trees and brush that he couldn't just get rid of on site. And I believe that was all of the questions the board had when last we discussed this. If there's something else I need to go over, I'm all ears. Yes, Chuck.
Michael, we were asking about workers' comp. And I suspect that Grasshopper, being a business, has a lot of people around, trucks around town. They probably have the workers' comp, but I guess there's a question of the sole proprietor, whether he had the proper workers' comp.
Sole proprietorship does not require workman's comp.
But then does that make us liable if something goes wrong?
Would still make his liability insurance. Actually, Kara, can you answer that, please?
I don't know. If you have an employee, I don't know that I think you're required to get workers' comp, but that would be a question for insurance company. I don't know how, I know that there's exemption, but if you're the only employee, if you're your own employee.
Your own employee, or you use subcontractors, you don't require workman's comp. If you have employees, you do require workman's comp, even if it's one employee. Right, Kara? I happen to know that, not because I'm a genius, simply because building codes enforcement and probably at least 2 or 3 other supervisors go through the building code requirements too. So here's my concern. My concern is that I understand that getting a license is much harder than it was before, much more complicated. That came from people applying from it, reapplying to get theirs. So the process has changed. I would be concerned about how long it went out to get there. Not that I'm not confident he could get it, but I'd hate to take the risk. If he could have come to us and said, I've got someone who's going to help me out and I'm going to subcontract to them to do it, that would be one thing, but I can't see doing it just nilly-willy. My advice would be to go with the one that's proven. Got all the licenses and the permits.
I tend to agree.
The Grasshopper Gardens is a little bit cheaper as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I believe it's 18,400 versus 20,000.
Correct.
Okay.
I move we accept Grasshopper's bid.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Dan?
Second.
15 seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Kara, pass.
So Susan Nixon, from Lemonade Chrysler, she represents Aviation Hospitality. She's gonna hop on the Zoom call to answer your questions. I just sent her the link.
This is counsel for aviation? Hospitality?
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah.
What exactly is aviation hospitality?
Which one is it at 524? I get them mixed up, so I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Home Suites 2?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yeah, and aviation, yeah, the run right at exit 18. Yeah.
Right.
Right behind the diner.
Thank you.
We're pulling up.
I beat her. I think we should require anyone in the future with last minute requests to jump on the meetings.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And the common.
Once in a while, I can star in some ideas. So just for, just update the board on our progress. I would ask that if we're done with her, is that with the subject, I would ask that Michael, Ally, and Chuck get off the call, and we'll have a discussion with Kara present.
Can I leave, or is there going to be stuff to do after the meeting?
We can leave.
Okay.
She said she's trying to get in now. She said there's an adjacent parcel that the funds will be used to purchase at the end of the month.
Well, then we would need a leasehold on that.
No, I mean, no, if the bank doesn't have, I mean, they don't own it yet. So I don't know if the bank is going to do some sort of spreader agreement to extend over that or not. I mean, we can't take a leasehold on it until they own it. I don't know if it's, that's all I know was what she just said that.
And maybe she can explain what they're gonna do with it.
Kara, I'm sorry, what did you say she was purchasing?
An adjacent parcel.
Oh, parcel.
She just popped on, I see her.
Not sure if everybody can hear me or see me. I apologize for my technical difficulties.
We can hear you.
Okay.
And we
I'm
can see you.
Okay. All right, I've done two things right today.
What was the first get up?
That's always the best way to start the day.
So Susan, I explained to the board that your refinance, so they're understanding the refinance and the consolidation. They had a question about the new money and what that will be used for with respect to granting the exemption on that new money or not granting the exemption.
Okay, sure.
So that's why we asked if you could join to maybe explain what the use of those funds would be.
Sure, and it's one of those, I don't know if you can see my desk here, but it's got a lot of documents for this closing, but Bavik is turning around with aviation, and there is a separate 3-acre parcel just across the street that they are looking to pull down as well. And so that's a cash closing that is hopefully closing on the 30th of this month. So the financing from this is to be used for that, so that we don't have to do.
Is that the property up on, is that the property they're thinking about what they want to do with it, mixed use or residential or workforce development? Do I remember that correctly?
Yes.
So the question is, would they be coming back to the IDA for assistance?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Because he was, I remember he was in here like 2 or 3 months ago talking about uses.
Yeah, it's one of those, he's got the opportunity to pull the property down, so he's not sure what it is that he's doing with the property, but it makes sense for him to pull it at this point and to use funds from this closing to do that.
And when you say the property across the street, is that property is located between the hotel and the aviation mall?
You know, let me just, I'm gonna see if I can screen share this.
Right, there's a 1.75 acre parcel back there
Let's see.
at 528 Aviation Road. Owned by PCGF Newco LLC.
Yes, that's the property.
Oh, it is 3.78 acres with total assessed value of $582,300. Full market value $647,000.
So Carol, how's that fit in?
I mean, if that is something that you feel that qualifies as an economic development action item, then it would be within your rights to approve it. But it's up to you to decide whether or not you feel that it is furthering the economic benefit interests of the community.
And if I could just add one other piece, now that I have the right file open, the purchase and sale price on that is 800,000. So I'm looking at proceeds of roughly 875,000 tomorrow. 800,000 of which is tagged for that closing.
Okay, so any other questions?
And the purpose of that investment is not yet determined, or what will be done with the property is not yet determined?
I couldn't speak to that today, no. It's one of those, I don't have any, we don't have any plans or anything. I wouldn't speculate on behalf of Bobak on that, no.
As I said, he wasn't a couple months ago. He floated some ideas he had. I think part of his foray was to discuss what may or may not be assistable by the IDA. So I'm not sure that he's really figured it out there, but I'm sure that making an investment like that, there's potentially going to be some productive use on it. So.
Are we technically able to approve this if we really don't know the use?
Yes. We can approve it. Just do we feel it fits in our boundaries? Because this mortgage tax savings is not on this property, it's mortgage tax savings on the current property.
Right.
So what he does with that property is really subsequent to what happens.
And any other action by the IDA would be upon application of something to do with that.
Correct.
And that they still have the ability to come in for sales tax exemption and pilot for that property as well. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Personally, I'm still not in favor.
Do I have anyone willing to make a motion on that? Have we heard none? I'm sorry, we can't take any action on this today.
Okay, is there any additional information that I can provide to you?
Well,
Time.
I'll let you answer that, but
I can try and see if I can get Bobak to key in on this. It was one of those, I didn't realize these questions I was not prepared to answer these questions on short notice. Otherwise, I would have had Bobak available and on. So I can see if he's available to join if it's helpful to the board. I'm not looking to waste anybody's time either, though.
You proposed another solution, Carol?
well, I think
What a path forward.
Well, so if you are, I mean, you technically, you almost have to approve the execution of the mortgage, regardless of whether or not you approve the exemption piece, because we have a leasehold interest in the property. In order for them, we can't hold up their closing simply because, the benefit and the execution of the mortgage are two different things. So if you are not in a position or you do not want to approve the exemption, I think you still need to approve the execution of the mortgage so that they can proceed on their end. If you want additional information and you want to possibly consider approving this, then at your next meeting, then that's something we can look into, but they will have to record their documents and be in a position to file with the mortgage tax being paid if the exemption isn't granted.
I would move that we authorize the the refinancing package itself. As long as the exemption.
So, Dan, seconds
Second that.
on that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The roll call, it.
Okay. Is there any flavor for the board to have him come back to the next meeting and with further information?
I'm gonna get on the phone with them as soon as I leave this room and suggest that we have further discussions with Karen immediately after this meeting or tomorrow, so that any questions that the board may have or concerns can be addressed.
Okay.
When is the next meeting?
The 21st.
21st.
Okay. Because our rate lock is the 15th, so I'll have a call with the lender as far as the recordability of the documents and holding them in escrow. The 21st of June?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And is there anything particular that would assist the board in there, other than just hearing from the borrower directly as far as what his anticipated uses are?
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
I mean, if he's just gonna hold it, buy it and hold it, that's one thing. If he's got proposed uses for it, that's another.
Okay. I understand. I can try to get him on the phone and answer those and have him address those questions now, if that's something the board is willing to entertain.
It's up to the board. We want to wait? I mean, another conversation?
Not really.
I think it's best that you and Kara get together and talk and figure out a map forward.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now I know we're gonna lose a quorum, but we'll have just an informal chat with our attorney, so attorney-client. So
Can I ask a quick question before we leave on a different topic? You mentioned the next meeting was the 21st. Is that June 21st?
yes,
Okay.
It's a Tuesday.
it's Tuesday.
Monday's the holiday.
17th day.
Okay, and it'll be at 4 o'clock. I'm just trying to get in the calendar. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah, why isn't it?
And we won't know until tomorrow if that's going to be in person or can do by Zoom.
It's a holiday.
We just passed our policy.
Sounds like it's gonna be in person, and I don't have it on my calendar either. Do we have, did Ally send out the notice?
I don't have it.
Days ahead of time.
I won't send it out until tomorrow.
Okay,
That's when it gets posted on the website as well.
You know what I'd like to offer, it might be very helpful if we know a meeting's coming up, at least get a placeholder out. Everyone's so busy with their schedule rather than wait until the formal notice. So food for thought that procedurally that might help us.
So at the beginning of the year, Ally,
At the beginning of every year, there is just for the board meetings and the executive park meetings, there is an annual schedule that shows what the dates are going to be for the entire year.
Yeah.
Had sent, since you're new, I had sent that to you in an email, but it was a while ago.
No, I have it, and I have it on the 20th. What I didn't know was that obviously now that I realize the holiday is on the 20th, my calendar, I didn't automatically forward to the 21st. So maybe that was my mistake, but I do have the regularly scheduled meeting for the 20th at 4 o'clock.
What holiday is the 20th?
Excuse me.
17th,
Juneteenth.
15th.
For all of you, it's also on the website under calendar. If that helps anyone at all.
will we be in Warren County or Washington County on the?
Well, we approved.
Probably our last one was at Warren.
I'll tell you,
Washington.
Warren County has committee meetings that day.
Yeah, I know you do.
Is Washington County taking off?
Washington County. I don't, but remember, we approved Juneteenth as a holiday at the IDA.
Yeah.
So that's what created the lapse. We try to stick to the schedule, and sometimes things come up that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, this is one of them.
So it's 4 o'clock on the 21st is what you're saying.
Yes. The notice will be going out tomorrow,
Okay, I'll wait for that.
okay?
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, have a nice evening.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Everybody's supposed to stay on, right? Okay. Oh, Mike and
People are
Chuck
supposed to
left.
be on.
Okay, all right, fine. So, you want YouTube off?
Please.